Have you ever studied really, really hard for an exam, known all of the information the night before, and then went into the exam room, sat down, and remembered absolutely nothing? Yes, me too. We've all been there. We sit there studying, we think we're retaining all of the information, and then by the time the exam comes around, we just cannot remember it. But this is how you're going to hack your brain using science to remember these key principles, to be able to recall them in an exam, and to be able to increase your grades. I'm going to be sharing the top 5 techniques. If these are helpful, do remember to subscribe, tag any friends below that you think would benefit from watching this video, and let me know if you have anything that you want me to cover in the videos that are going to be coming up over the next couple of weeks. The first technique is to study out loud. Now, please don't be doing this in a public library because everyone is going to hate you. But if you have your own space, if you have your own room, a study you can use, even if you're sat downstairs at the kitchen table or in a cafe, because you can talk out loud in a cafe, you want to be voicing things. Why? Because it's very easy to read through a textbook or watch a video and think, oh yeah, I know all of these concepts. I've read them, I've just seen them. That's great, I know them. But there's a big gap between having seen something and being able to actually explain it and articulate it yourself. Now, if every time you study a different topic, you sit back and you take 5 minutes to just explain it, talk through the topic, talk through a certain process, explain why photosynthesis happens and how it happens. Tell me about Mr. Burling's role in the spectacles. Whatever it is, just take time to articulate it. The best part of doing this is that you will very, very quickly and very, very easily spot any mistakes. You'll spot your inability to explain a certain keyword, or you'll spot a gap in your knowledge between two parts of a certain cycle. Voicing things, trying to essentially teach it out loud, or just explain things to yourself, it is a massively beneficial strategy that strengthens the neural pathways in your brain between these ideas that you're trying to learn, making it so much easier for you to actually remember them. The second thing you should be doing is always focusing on active recall. Now, active recall is anything where you're not directly looking at the information, but you're taking the information out of your brain and bringing it out in some format. So the explaining method I've just told you is an example of active recall. Other examples are things like blurting. And I don't know, if you have a whiteboard, writing stuff out. The Feynman technique can often be, particularly if you're doing the Feynman notebook technique, that can also be an example of active recall. So you should be prioritizing this. And the important keyword here is active. These are things that require you to really use your brain. And when you're really using your brain, you're mimicking being in an exam. You're making it easier for you to replicate the scenario whereby you're under pressure and you just need to recall information. That's what an exam is going to be like. And if you don't study in that way, how do you know that you're going to be able to do it come the exam? The third thing you can be doing is utilizing the fact that your brain remembers images a lot better than it remembers text. So you can be turning complex processes into flowcharts. You can be using diagrams to explain complex ideas. You can be creating your own mnemonics. You could be using a memory palace. Whatever it is, when you add visual stimulus into your studying, your brain is much better at remembering things. And if you can make it easier for your brain to remember things, then that is going to make getting good grades even easier and much more efficient. So what you want to be doing is focusing on thinking about how you can transform the content in front of you into some other format. Now that is immensely useful anyway, because think about it. In order to transform the format of something, in order to take text and create a flowchart, for example, you've got to really understand the text. So you've got to have used things like explaining out loud or like active recall to get the text into your head. And then you can transform it into a visual stimulus, which is a very complex process in itself, reinforcing all of these ideas in your head. And then you've got something that's really uber easy to remember. That is an ideal studying flow that you can really be taking advantage of this exam season. The fourth thing that you can be doing is spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is different from active recall. A lot of students get them confused. Spaced repetition is specifically when you are going back to a certain topic at set intervals. It doesn't have to be a consistent interval, but you've got to be consistently going back to it and just reinforcing the ideas that you've learned. The benefit of doing this is that when you learn something once, you'll have what is called the forgetting curve, and it'll look a little bit like this. And that steepness at the top means that in the first couple of hours, the first couple of days after learning something, that is when you forget the majority of it. And if you don't go back to a topic, let's say you learn it on Monday and you don't go back to it until the next Monday, you're actually going to find it really hard to remember anything. You could remember as little as 20% of the content. Whereas if you went back to it on the Wednesday, just 2 days after you've learned it, you're going to have forgotten much less. Even better, if you can go back to it the next day, you'll have forgotten hardly any of the material. You'll immediately be reinforcing it. And now you've gone through it twice. And each time you go through it, your forgetting curve is going to get flatter and flatter, meaning that you can have larger and larger intervals between successive times when you review a certain topic. Now, this can feel really overwhelming if you have a lot of topics that you need to get through. You'll be thinking, I can't be reviewing everything every day, otherwise I'm never going to get through all of the topics. That's very true. But try as best as you can to review a topic within the first 3 days after initially studying it. And then keep to reviewing every 3 or so days, perhaps 2 or 3 times, and then every week. And then you can move on every 2 weeks. But maintaining spaced repetition means that you are maintaining ideas in the forefront of your brain, you're able to recall them, you're able to put forward the ideas in an exam without instantaneously forgetting everything because, oh, I studied it like a month ago. Yes, but you will have forgotten pretty much all of it. And the 5th thing that you should be doing doesn't relate so much to what you're doing as you're studying, but to what you're doing as well. And that is making sure that you're sleeping enough, because sleeping is when you process information, it's when your body rests, it's when your brain rests, and it is what you really need to be able to get through an exam period, particularly one as long as the A-level or GCSE period. And the second thing is movement. Get yourself moving. If you hate going for a run, no one is forcing you to go for a run. Go for a walk, go for a dance, go for a skip around your street. Whatever you do, just do something that is getting you active, that's getting the blood flowing. That's going to help you feel a lot better, a lot less restless, and you're also not going to feel as miserable from being sat at your desk for the multiple hours a day that you are going to be studying. You want to be counterbalancing that with some actual physical exertion. Those are my techniques for making sure your memory sticks. Even if you just pick one of these tips, let me know which one you're doing in the comments to keep you accountable. And you're going to stick to it for a week and just see how much it improves your ability to retain information, see if you can incorporate all of them, and good luck this exam period.